it's Mindy from My Creative Scoop, and today I'm going to be sharing with you how to create some masculine cards that are simple enough to create in mass productions. So we're going to be using some pattern paper from Sunny Studio Stamps along with this adorable little balloon stamp set. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take this scallop border and we're going to cut out, since we're going to be making 2 cards, we're going to be cutting out 2 of these in black so we can have that really dark black outline that really makes it pop. All right, so here we go, and it has that stitching all the way around it. It's hard to see with the cardstock being black, but it is there. And then we're going to go ahead and take, this is just a rectangle stitched piece of, or die, and we're going to be using that on our pattern paper. So depending on where you want that sunburst to be, you're going to line it up on your paper and run it through your die cut machine. Now on my sample, I kind of had it centered and up towards the top, so that way, and then I'm going to place it, if you wanted it more to be off to the side so you can put your balloons directly in the center, that would look really cute too. Let's go ahead and we'll do that for this one here. So I'm going to run these through in orange and green, so we're using our masculine colors, and then we can go ahead and start assembling. Okay, so we have our scallop black pieces that are going to go in the center, and then we have the orange. I kind of offset it so that way we can put our balloons right on top with the sunburst on it. I've added some foam tape to the back of the die cut with the cardstock, so that way we can have a little bit of height. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the backing and attach it to the black card, the scalloped cardstock. Make sure it's the right way. And place it in the center. And we're going to do the same thing for the orange. So here we have it. And we need to, I forgot, we need to add the stamped balloons on our card, on the cardstock with the pattern on it, so that way we can have the balloon strings coming down. So since this is a pretty simple card, I decided to fussy cut the balloons, just the balloons, and place them right over the stamped balloons that are going to be on the cardstock, so that way it just has that a little bit of extra dimension. So let's go ahead and do that with our Misty. So since I already went ahead and put the foam tape on there, the magnet is pretty much useless. But my cardstock is all the way pushed down in the corner, so if it happens to move when I pick it up, I could just push it right back down there and still stamp in that same image. So I'm just going to set this right here. And let's ink up our image and get it stamped on to our cardstock. Alrighty. So since you're not going to be able to really see the balloons, since we're going to cover them up with the colored ones, it doesn't have to be super perfect. We want the strings to be really the part that we really want to show. So we're going to do the exact same spot for this card. Ink it up. There we go. Okay, so we're going to take our card base and we're going to take the pattern paper with the black scallop border, and we're going to glue the back of the black cardstock flat to the card base. Not too much height, not too much dimension, but it gives it just a little bit because of that height on the cardstock, on the orange paper with the black cardstock. So we're going to center our paper right in the middle and set it aside so it dries. Do the same thing for this green one. Place it in the center. And while that's drying, we're going to go ahead and die cut our happy birthday. So the happy birthday die is actually part of the blooming frame die. So it's just right here in the center. You can remove it so you don't have to use both of them at the same time. You could use one or the other. So I'm going to go ahead and cut them out in white. So one time for each card. All right, so I've cut out my happy birthdays, and we're going to go ahead and pop out all of these little pieces that we don't need and glue them to our cards. Okay, so we're just about done here. I've stamped the balloons again onto my Copic Express It blending card using my Memento Black ink, and we're going to go ahead and do some Copic coloring before we cut them out to add to our cards. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start coloring. We're going to be coloring the exact same way that I did in this first card here. So anytime you're coloring something when you're doing like a mass production, the repetitiveness always helps it and makes it just a little bit easier. That way you can kind of just go down the line, the same color combinations, the same areas that you're doing it. So for example, if you wanted to make 6 of these, I would say cut out all 6 of your black scallop pieces at the same time. Cut out all of your pattern paper at the same time, all of your happy birthdays at the same time, and then lay everything out so that way you can assemble it all at the same time. So it makes it go by a little bit quicker and simpler when you are creating something and you're creating a lot of them. So the first thing that we're going to do is color the teal balloons. So we're going to be using BG18, BG13, BG11, and BG10. We're going to start with that BG18. And this one down here, we're going to go ahead and color. So we want the shadow on all the balloons to be on the same side. So we might have to add a couple of them depending on which one's in front, but I will show you once we get there. So we're just going to trace all along this side here. And let's go ahead and do this one as well. So we're going to color them at the same time. And then we'll take the BG13 and come out just a little bit more, blending out that BG18. So I'm kind of going back and forth right along the edge of that 18, so I'm making sure that I pick up some of that previous color so I could blend it out. So notice I didn't color in that with the BG18, so that way it stays a little bit lighter and stands out a little bit more. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Going to pull out that BG18, getting a nice blend with our BG13. So might have to go over it a couple of times. And so you're not going in that same spot really saturating that paper. Make sure you come out a little bit more too. So now with the BG18, I'm going to come right along the edge of that 13, doing the exact same thing, just moving that color around so it blends. And then I'm going to come around this side of the balloon, so that way there's just that center right there that's still light. Same thing over here. I'm going to come around this side. So I'm going to add a little bit of a shadow right behind these 2 balloons. And then we'll take our last color, BG10, do one swipe over, filling in that center white part. So you could still see that it's very blotchy still. It's not like it's not blended out. So whenever this happens, and it doesn't matter what you're coloring, I always say go back with a middle color. So since the BG13 is a little bit darker, I wouldn't, so look here. So I always go back wherever it's not blending, so right in here. So that's a BG13. If it wasn't blending over here more, then I would go back with the BG11 just so it doesn't get carried away with that darker color. But since it's still not blending in towards the darker area, we want to go with the darker one of the middle colors. So I'm going back with my BG13. I'm going to do a heavy flick so I can really push that color out and add that second layer. We're going to do that over here as well. And then we're going to repeat the BG11. Oops, wrong side. So then we're going to come right along the edge of that BG13 And you can see that it's already blended out a little bit better by adding that second coat. So a lot of times I get emails of them saying, oh, it's not blending good, I can't get a good blend. Well, sometimes you're not putting enough color down to get those colors moving and actually blending together on the paper. So now let's go ahead and color the yellow. We're going to be using Y02, Y11, Y000, and a little bit of Y17. I'm going to start with my Y02, and we're going to go ahead and color this balloon yellow. So I'm going to come down the same side, how we've been doing that darker side on the left of the balloon, but then we're also going to come out a little bit over this one here since it's right behind this one. And then we're going to take the BG11, or I'm sorry, Y11, not BG11. We're going to go back and forth right along the edge of that Y02. And then the Y000. So yellows are kind of funny. They're very neon-y, and it's really hard with some of the color combinations to get that darker shadow. So that's why we're going to go back and add a little bit of the Y17, which has a little bit of an orangey feel. But when you mix it with this yellow, it kind of gives it a golden, so you're able to get a little bit of a deeper shadow. So I'm just going to add a little bit of color right along the edge, just a little bit. A little color goes a long way. And then we're going to go back over with Y02. So I'm going to go directly over that Y17, and it gives it a little bit more of a shadow. So we're going to do that same thing over here with this balloon. So back with the Y02, we're going to trace right along the edge right in front of the other balloons, or right behind those other balloons. And then we're going to take the Y11, come out a little bit more, and then Y000, add a little bit of the Y17, and then repeat the Y02. All right. So now let's go ahead and color those green balloons. We're going to be using YG17, YG13, and G20. I'm going to start with my YG17. I'm going to color this one down here. So again, I'm going to trace all along the side. And we're going to do the same thing up here. And then we're going to take the YG13 and blend it out. I'm going to go right along the edge of that YG17 a couple of times to really pull the color out, getting a nice blend. Marker's getting a little dry there. So then we're going to take the G20, fill in the white area. And I'm actually going to go back and repeat that whole color combo. And then again with the G20. All right, moving along, now we're going to do the remaining balloons orange. So we're actually going to be using YR09, YR07, YR04, and a little bit of that Y17 again. So starting with the YR09, I'm going to go ahead and add our shadow or the darkest area of the balloons. And we're going to do the same thing over here. And here. And then we're going to come out a little bit more with YR07. Now YR09 and YR07, they are a little, or a lot, they're very similar. So I'm not going to fill in that the little knot at the bottom using this one. We'll fill it in with the YR04. So now we're going to pull this color out, and this one gets a lot lighter. And then we're going to go ahead and go around the edge of the balloon, leaving that center part white. We're going to do the same thing up here and over here. And then we're going to take the Y17 and fill in that white space. And this color works really, really well with those oranges. So I'm going to go back with my YR07 and just repeat the YR07 and YR04, just because that Y17 kind of separates the color, since it is from a different family and it has more of a yellow, and I want a really smooth transition between the colors, so I want to go back and repeat. Doing a heavy flick so that way it blends nicely, pushing some of that yellow back into that highlighted area. You see how it's kind of pushing it away. And then let's go back with the Y17 again. And now we are ready to fussy cut our balloons. Okay, so we have 2 balloons for the cards. We're going to go ahead. I want to show you a little trick. When you do fussy cutting, and you could see how there's a little bit of white kind of around the border, and it doesn't look, you know, finished. So what I like to do is I'll take a gray marker. In this case, I'm going to use my N5, and I'm going to take the chisel end, and I'm just going to go around and just touch up, or even if you just go back over and trace the entire outer part that you just cut out, it gives it more of a finished look, and you get rid of that white that sometimes looks kind of messy. If you were using a lot lighter colors or doing more of a softer card, then I would recommend doing a little bit of a lighter gray, like an N3 or even an N1. So that really kind of finishes it, so that way it doesn't have all that white spot when you do this fussy cutting. All right, so now we're going to take some little dimensionals or foam squares. We're going to add a couple of them to the back of our balloons. Move that one over a bit. So that way we have a little bit more height, a little bit more dimension, and adds a little extra something to our cards, since they are a little on the simpler side. So I'm going to line up the balloons with the other balloons that we have on the card. Do the same thing for this guy over here. Line them all up. All right, just about done. We're going to get some black twine and add little bows right at the bottom where, oops, little scratch paper, right at the bottom where the balloons meet, all the strings meet. All right, so here we go. We have all 3 of our masculine happy birthday cards ready to go. This pack of paper called Spring Sunburst from Sunny Studios has all of these different colors, so you could really stock up on your happy birthday cards, and you don't have to necessarily do the masculine. But I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you found it inspirational. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.